Hey y'all, this is Trevor, and you're watching The Apocalypse. All right, today on the podcast, I have a new guest. This is my buddy, Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
We just finished recording his new song called Get Out of Town, which we'll play a 5-second clip of right now.
And the wind will whisper, and the clouds will fall down, sound of echoes.
It's pretty sweet. First time in the studio, right?
Yeah.
How'd it feel?
Dude, you made it amazing.
Thank you. It's a good song. And surprising for you being your first time recording, it went really well.
Yeah, I was stoked that you were like, I played one take and you're like, yeah, that sounds good. I was like, I thought I'd have to play this like 100 times.
No, usually if you got to do it 100 times, you got to go home and you got to practice a little bit. So, no, it went well. It went well. So you wrote this. You said you wrote it in 97.
Yeah.
And I was 3. And that, for the record, that's like the oldest song I think I've recorded that hasn't been recorded yet. So it's pretty cool that there's like a lifespan of this song. And what were the circumstances around writing it?
I was just sitting out in front of a buddy's house and with another, a different buddy, and just jamming and making stuff up, and it just came out.
Yeah.
It just came out of the ether.
Naturally, right?
It did, yeah. And I'm sure it was from some underlying kind of concerns for the world and concerns for what I saw was happening, or at least what I felt.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much an observation, even though things have been happening for eternity that haven't been right.
Yeah. The world's been ending for forever.
It kind of has, yeah.
Well, cool. But I'm glad you chose to record it, and it's a pretty rockin' tune. I think we'll make some more good records together.
I'm excited.
And let's get this out of the way, because I think I'm probably gonna advertise the podcast as this is some clickbait. You were on The Biggest Loser, season 13, right? Mm-hmm. The at-home winner, is that what it's called?
That's correct.
That's pretty badass. So can you tell me a little bit what that was like? I know that we can watch it and see, but we all want to know the behind the scenes of the reality show business, kind of. I don't know if you signed an NDA or not, but, people always say the producers are kind of manipulating stories and there's, crazy stuff going on. And I don't know if that's true with The Biggest Loser. So what was your experience like?
It's totally not true.
Totally not true?
No, the only thing they might do is just edit some things,
mm-hmm.
and it would occur that it was something else.
Yeah.
But, no, it was pretty true to what happened.
Gotcha.
And it was a hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. What was the audition process like?
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have to submit a video, or did you have to fly somewhere?
So my brother auditioned in Manhattan, and they liked him. He went by himself with his wife, and he wasn't thinking about me,
mm-hmm.
which was fine. And they said, well, guess what? We really like you. And this is a couple season, so someone from your family, maybe a best friend, but most likely someone from your family. And I was the only one fat enough to be on the show with him. So he's like, "Hey, Mike."
Isn't it nice when that's a qualifying factor? Doesn't happen often in life, So.
No, I won the lottery.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, that's awesome.
The health lottery.
Mm-hmm.
I owe that show my life.
That's good. So I remember the twist of that season was that it was a couples thing, and then y'all are pitted against each other, correct?
Right.
So that was a bit of a twist.
It was.
Yeah. How was your reaction to that?
It sucked.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up with my brother,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't meet him until I was like 10. And then we had hung out, several times from 10 to 41, but very few. Not a lot of time spent together. And I hadn't seen him in like 5 years, so I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, we're going to get healthy together.
Yeah.
We're going to potentially win this thing and earn some money, which would be awesome. But more importantly, like, get our life back, because we were both sick, and our dad died young from...
How old?
52. From driving truck and eating at smorgasbords, and, it caught up with him.
Yeah.
And real early. And people he's from Sicily, my dad.
Oh, wow.
And people don't die over there until they're like really old, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So it was rare that him and then all 4 of his brothers who came here when they were 12 died, like all of them before 70. My dad was the youngest.
That's a good example of kind of like your environment versus your genetics, and the environment changed, and you see the result of what the environment did.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Sicily, everybody's pretty middle class, lower class, poor. and my family was kind of on the poor, lower class standard, and so like meat was like Sundays only, and
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was like pasta with just red sauce, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Definitely had the bread.
Of course.
Yeah, gotta have the bread.
Yeah.
And then fish sometimes because it's Sicily and it's an island, so you could get fish at reasonable prices, but like meat, not too often. So simple diet. And then they came here and it was like all of a sudden they started having money and it was abundanza, they would say. And so, you know, more, some is good, more is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so being the at-home winner, you get voted off the island. They don't use that term on that show, I guess, but you get voted off. You go home.
The ranch.
You get voted off the ranch.
Right.
Gotcha. And I think I asked you this, but Jillian Michaels wasn't on this season.
She wasn't.
I apologize, but the hot blonde host was on this season.
She wasn't. No,
She wasn't the blonde?
No, unfortunately, we had two dudes, and they were one was less than. He didn't like girls. We'll just put it that way.
Well, that's not good.
No.
But the host, like
nice guy, huh?
there was a host though, right?
Yes, and she was my lady.
Nice.
I really had a crush on her.
She's cute. It's a blonde chick,
Allison,
right?
sweetie.
Allison.
Yeah, and the nicest, most genuine, like authentic. It was awesome. She
That's
was
important.
so cool. In fact, she really gave me a boost when I got voted off.
Really?
Yeah, we sat in the limo together after I got kicked off, and she was just like, Mike, I'm so sorry that you got voted off, and I really wanted you to go all the way. I really like you, and you should go home and you should murder this.
And it's what you did.
And it helped.
Yeah.
You know, her encouraging words and the fact that she was just a sweetheart. It was awesome.
That's interesting because she'd been on that show for forever, right?
Yeah,
But she
and
still kind of had a heart in it.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very cool.
She struggled with her weight a little bit throughout her life.
She understands
Yeah.
the perspective of the people that she's working with.
I think, yeah.
Gotcha.
She like married a regular guy, a cop.
Really?
Yeah, she's just a salt of the earth kind of movie star.
What's her name?
Allison Sweeney.
What up, Allison?
Right.
All right, so you go home, and how much weight had you lost so far?
So the second week I got voted off and I had lost 20 pounds.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight in 2 weeks.
You would think
I know when you're bigger, it goes off quicker, but still, that's an accomplishment for 2 weeks.
I should have lost like 34 pounds in those 2 weeks.
What kept you from doing that?
Well, I didn't know how to play the game. So we were, before we got on the show, we were all hanging out at a hotel and they're like, you know, seeing who they like and who they don't and who they think will mix together. It's, you know, creating a show.
Yeah.
And so none of us had been really picked. And one of the PAs or casting people suggested that we start eating better. Because we had before we got on the show, we would go to the store and get food and whatever. And she suggested so you don't get sick when you're, when you start the show, you should start eating a little better. So me and my brother started just eating no carbs. And it backfired because I lost 14 pounds in 2 weeks before I got on the show.
You should have loaded up. You should have been eating M&Ms and Snickers and fucking cheeseburgers.
Dude, there was like these this pastor and his brother that were on, and we would see their shopping carts in the store because we were all kind of there, and it was like, Oreos and like all kinds of sodas and all this garbage, and we're like, these guys are stupid.
Yeah.
And little did we know.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I only lost 13 pounds my first week, and I'm sure I would have lost like 25 or something.
Yeah, because you started a little too early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd. You could even put on a lot of water weight that you could lose real quick or something.
That happened
Talk
too.
to some fighters that do the reverse of that. See what you could do to kind of flip that.
Yeah, there's a lot of game playing when it comes to, weight.
Yeah. What was the prize for the winner of the show? What was the first prize?
$250,000. Yeah.
How many weeks does it last? 6 months, right?
Yeah, it's 16 weeks on camera.
6 weeks on camera.
And then you go home for the last, 8 weeks.
Gotcha. So you get kicked off and you go home. So what's the game plan then?
Don't panic and keep going.
Yeah. So what do you do daily exercise and diet-wise?
I just, I weighed and measured my food. So I made sure that I stayed within the calorie allotment that I gave myself, which was ridiculously low on what
Starvation.
it was.
Yeah.
I wanted to do well. At that point, it was about taking as far as I could. And I felt great.
Yeah.
I felt really good. So it was really low calories, way less than a man should eat. And I was working out like 8, 10,
Wow.
12 hours a day sometimes.
Usually, if you work out that much, you can eat, over 2,000 calories, still lose a lot of weight. But you said you were eating under 2,000 calories?
I would say that, yeah,
Wow.
much less than that.
1,500-ish or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, right in
Wow.
there, somewhere in there.
Wow.
And I would get dizzy sometimes,
A little lightheaded.
a little bit. But other than that, it was like I felt like $1 million.
Yeah.
The cardio and just all that oxygen that I was breathing, and
And the endorphins you get from all those workouts.
amazing.
Yeah.
I would do a boot camp in the morning for 2 hours, and then I would go walk the streets of San Francisco for a couple of hours.
Lots of hills.
Lots of hills.
Yeah.
And then I would watch the stairs over there were cool too. Anywhere there was a beautiful view and a lot of hill or stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go do another boot camp for 2 hours. And then I would go play full court basketball for like 2-3 hours
Lots
sometimes.
of sprinting. Yeah.
Sprinting. I was drinking a lot of sports drinks, that's for sure. The
Nice.
0-calorie ones.
Yeah.
And then I would finish off the day with swimming. And I'd
Nice.
swim for an hour or two.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of workout in one day. That's about what I get in a week right now.
Well, that's good though. You know?
But still.
That's manageable.
Yeah,
you know.
kind of, But awesome. So you go back because the story is you lost the most weight of all the at-home contestants, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so you get back and then what happens?
Get back
To the show.
You mean when I got voted off?
So you return, right? After
yeah,
all this time.
So it was, I want to say the 15th week, and then they surprise all the people that are still on the ranch.
There's always got to be a twist.
Gotta be.
Keeps me, after the commercial break, I'll stay. If there's a little twist,
Gotta be. Yeah, they twisted it.
Yeah.
And we all got to go back to compete to get into the finals. So we did, like a sprint, which I I blew both my quads out. It was the craziest thing ever. I must have been dehydrated and not warmed up enough. I was dumb.
Overworked, possibly.
Overworked the whole thing. And I
Yeah.
tried to sprint, and it was like, pow, pow. And they
Wow.
both popped.
Wow.
And it felt like I got shot twice, but I kept running because, that's what you do when you're on TV. You go,
Yeah. If there's a camera in front of you, you change your motivation, It's kind of
completely.
like when you're out for a jog and you're like really struggling and like a pretty girl starts to jog by and you're like, oh shit, you got to speed up a little bit.
Dude, I got a cool story about that.
Let me hear it.
So it's, I want to say 3 weeks. No, what is it? 3 months into my journey. And I meet this trainer, and he had helped he has nothing to do with the show. He had helped the season before's at-home winner win the at-home prize.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael, this little, very gay, and the first gay person I ever hung out with.
Really? How old were you at this time?
I was old.
Yeah.
41.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I had never been friends with a gay person.
Gotcha.
Nothing against them. Just
No, it just hadn't
hadn't
crossed your
happened,
path.
right?
Yeah.
And he's like 5'5", 130 pounds of just personal training magic.
Yeah.
He gets a hold of me. He's like, "We're gonna make you a runner. That's what we're gonna do." Okay.
Nice.
And I'm like, and I had been sprinting hills before that, but I had never run endurance.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets me, and he's like, "Okay, today we're gonna run 1 mile without stopping." And that had been like in my lifetime the most I had ever run without stopping. And I thought, and it was like 12 or something. It was for the the mile thing in school.
Yeah.
And I doubt I ran the whole thing. I probably walked too.
A little walk break.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, 12-minute mile, unless you're going real slow, you're probably going to walk a little bit during that.
Sure. And I
Yeah.
think I did like a 16-minute mile. So I was definitely walking.
So you're definitely walking, yeah.
If I remember. And so we ran that mile. And then the next day we ran 3 miles. And then the day after that, we ran a half marathon
Whoa. With
Yeah.
no training.
with no training.
And you made it?
Yeah, dude, I didn't stop the whole time. I didn't walk.
What was
the
your
whole time.
pace?
It took me 3 hours.
That's not bad for not training.
Yeah, I don't know what my pace was. I'd have to calculate that. But what
Yeah.
is that? Maybe 17-minute miles or
Something
no,
like that.
16. There was points where I was barely running.
Yeah.
I mean, there was people who could
Like
probably
you're
walk
moving your
past
arms,
me.
but you're,
yeah,
not,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
not actually running.
Yeah, but I told myself I wasn't going to stop the whole way. So anyway, I'm in this half marathon in San Francisco, and it's a part of the San Francisco Marathon. And there's this like 90-year-old lady. And the shoes, she's got these New Balance shoes that are too big. And I swear to God, they were flipping off the back of her heels. And she's like, I don't know, 50 yards ahead of me or 30 yards ahead of me,
Yeah.
right? And there's maybe 3 miles left to go. And here I am, like, 300 and whatever I was at the time, 330 or some.
So your ego's starting to fight with you. You're like, there's an old woman in front of me beating me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I didn't weigh 330. I was like, I was under 300. Anyways, so I'm trying to catch up with her for the last 3 miles. And I'm just telling myself, this lady is not going to beat me. There's no way she can't beat me. This is not okay.
Yeah.
This is not okay. And I sprinted the last 100 yards and I beat her by like a hair. And
Hell
I felt like a stud.
You beat an old lady. Good job, dude. Congratulations. I hope you have a sign on your wall that says, on this day, I beat an old woman.
How did that conversation start?
I have no idea.
I don't either, but that's a real thing that happened.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you go back, you return to the show. What are the challenges when you get back?
So it was this challenge where I had to guess the calories of all these different foods.
Ooh.
I killed that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of foods?
Like
healthy foods or bad foods?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The calories in a tablespoon of olive oil.
Oh, okay. What is that? 120?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Got it.
I've gained and lost weight before, so I've been in the battle, of the cycles of trying to drop it, and
Yeah.
I'm there again. So hopefully you're kind of inspiring me being around you to kind of get my shit together, because I've been trying for a couple of weeks, but I've been in the studio for 2 years drinking beer, so it's starting to add up.
Dude, I get it, man. I mean, this is a really cool studio. You're really good at what you do. You hang around awesome people.
Oh yeah.
And you get to like do something you love and get paid for it. So everything else doesn't it seem like secondary to that?
Yeah, and I have a one-track mind. Like,
totally get it.
There was a time when I was 280, and in 6 months I got down to like 220.
Which is awesome.
And I was like, that's all I did, And right now this is all I do. I don't really have a way to kind of separate. It's like, okay, this hour of the day I'll do this, and then I'll focus on this. It's like I'm always focused on one thing. It's like a blessing and a curse in a sense, but the older I get and the more I'm, gaining weight, losing weight, and in other aspects too, the more I'm trying to kind of compartmentalize my priorities, so it's getting there. It just takes a little bit of maturity and a little bit of discipline.
Sure. And if I could give you one piece of advice,
Please.
if I could put my coaching hat on,
Please.
Couple things. Then I heard you say just now, and it's kind of it's a mind state.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And it's a mind state because this one simple sentence: words
Actions.
create your world.
Okay.
So anything that you say is going to manifest itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you're coming from. Like, I'm going to trying.
You always
do or
fail.
do not do. There is no try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
So, and here's another really cool one I'm going to lay on you. It's, if it lives in your head, it can't live in the world.
What do you mean by that?
John Bates.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a spider on you.
Where?
On your shirt. Do you care? It's on your arm now. It's on your elbow. There it goes. It's on the floor.
I ain't scared. I might be Spider-Man though.
You might be.
I might become Spider-Man.
You might be. I'm pretty down with
There
that.
are much worse bugs at the treehouse. I have a few cockroach friends. I have names for them. There's a snake outside right now. It's small. It's just like that big. But there's a snake hanging out by the door. So
That's what's up.
you get used to it out here.
Yeah, treehouse is badass.
So what were you meaning? What was the last piece of advice?
So it's pretty abstract. If
Okay.
it lives in your head, it can't live in the world.
Okay.
So basically, if it's not written down and scheduled, it's not getting done
Gotcha.
consistently.
Yeah.
The motivation only lasts for like 5 seconds
Mm-hmm.
or 2 seconds, maybe even. So if you're like, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to start this specific type of training, I'm going to start prepping my meals, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's cool and it's motivating for that moment because you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it lives in your head and it doesn't live in the world on a piece of paper, in your calendar, on your phone, whatever it is, if it's not out in the world and out of your head.
Okay, 100% know what you're saying. And
Then
like the times where I have successfully, lost weight or achieved anything, it's been written down and scheduled. You know, I have training because then you see when you're failing because you do see yesterday didn't happen,
Right.
And it's a visual thing,
Right.
Same thing with like counting calories. I used to log my food ahead of time, so I knew what I was going to eat, which was going to be the right amount of calories. And lately, when I've got back into it, I eat it and then I log it and I see what it was instead of preparing ahead of time.
Right.
Okay, so that makes sense 100%.
Especially for the food and the working out, because it's really easy to. Well, I mean, the science behind it, I think, from what I've studied, is that, you know, your brain's only good for a couple of things, and it's mainly survival. I mean, is that a threat? Should I run? And that's mostly what your brain is good at. Let me put it that way. And that's what comes up when you want to change it. When you want to change the pattern that your body has been going through for 1 year, 6 months, 5 years, 20 years. When you want to change that pattern, your reptilian brain is like, no,
I'm surviving this way.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I've been surviving this whole time. Nothing's been chasing me. You know, the couch is nice and warm and safe. You know, that this house is nice and warm and safe, or cold and safe because it's hot outside because we're in Texas.
It's 105 right now. Jesus.
I know, right?
It's horrible.
But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that your body has this pattern that it's been going through. It goes from, you know, bed to the fridge to work, back to the fridge, maybe check the fridge a couple of times to see what's going on in there, you know, you tempt yourself a little bit.
No, when the six-pack's in there, it gets opened at least 6 times.
Right. Exactly. And you know it's there. But it's that pattern of going back to the fridge to get the beer that's in your body, right? So your body doesn't want to let that go. And your body is smart too. Your gut, the chemicals in your gut are like your brain chemicals. And I think more intuitive. I think the gut is really where it's at. I think that first gut reaction is the most honest, like, you know, thought center, if you will.
It's like your instincts are kind of in there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the gut is the closest thing to God, connecting to God, connecting to whatever you believe in. I think that's where the real connection is for whatever, you know, whether it's the smartest part of you or it's it's actually God talking through you, or whatever you believe. That's a whole nother subject.
Are you talking about the physical gut or the metaphorical, like your gut?
I think both.
Yeah.
I think the physical chemicals that are there, you know, you ever get scared and that drop in your stomach?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on down there. I don't know all the specific scientific stuff about it, but I'm more into like that. You know, this is how it makes me feel. And the idea of what I hear from all these pundits and scientists that talk about stuff like this, I've just pieced together my own layman's version of it for myself.
What I mainly hear is that your mental health and your physical health are intertwined 100%.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
And even like I can sit in a chair for, you know, a year and study and become brilliant in some subject, but I could actually be suffering and do a better job if I'm, you know, getting exercise, you know, feeling the body to do what it's actually supposed to do. And it can be ignored for sure. And I've ignored it sometimes. And I think a lot of people have in a modern society where there's McDonald's in every corner. Dude. And, you know, you're not struggling to survive. You're not chasing a mammal to get your meat or anything.
No, but that's what's up though, right? I think honestly that the future is going backwards.
100%.
It's farming, it's natural building, it's connecting with Mother Nature in a way and healing the earth.
And with the current circumstances, we're also seeing that gathering in like a metropolitan area or an urban area in large numbers is not always the best idea.
No, it's insane.
Yeah.
And that's what that song, you know, it's ironic that I wrote it in 97 because the lyrics are so,
I know,
you know, today, right now.
Yeah.
And it's not this version of reality for everybody. I mean, some people are happy being in the concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And getting blasted by EMFs and smog and crime.
Some people thrive there. It's just a different person than I think I am, you know.
I think they've learned to adapt, and some people get off on fear. You know, you never know if you're going to.
Fear's like the number one commodity of the moment.
Right, exactly. Some people dig that, and they love being on all the time and not relaxing. And
yeah, there's a different stimulation to like being in a concrete jungle. I've lived near like downtown Dallas, and I visited all major cities. Then I've also been in the middle of nowhere, and like just the stimulation that you receive on a daily basis changes like the way you experience life for sure.
Didn't your music? Whenever you spend a lot of time in nature, didn't you feel more connected to your music?
100%.
You know, to me, music is a metaphor for awesomeness. It's a metaphor for love and for connection. And I feel like the most connected to the spiritual whatever through music, whether I'm listening to it or playing it, but more, I think more playing it than
playing it's better, but all of it is great.
It is because it's an energy. Even though you're hearing it, it actually has mass. It has an energy.
Yeah. It has waveforms and it pumps out air and
it does. Yeah, it's alive.
And it has like its own unique identity. That's something like when I mainly listen to music. I'm not the kind of guy that can like, perform on that kind of stuff, but I will listen to music and I will kind of understand it in a different way. And certain music, like I'll listen to a playlist of like 10 songs that I love, and then when I'll listen to a song I normally love and I'm just completely uninterested in it. And then I'll go to another one and it becomes like, oh, this one is like a standard. This one is pulling from something. This one is like connecting to some other thing that is either a unifying force or whatever trippy thing you want to get into. That another thing about is that my perception of time is definitely adjusted. And so I think of how the music can kind of last, because they talk about timeless art and everything. And usually I feel like and listening to a song, you can tell if it's going to be timeless or not in a weird way.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that human beings are kind of, we're electric, right? Like it takes electricity to run your brain. So I think that we're receivers in a way, that we transmit and we receive thoughts and energy. And there's a lot of studies like remote viewing. Some people believe in it, some people don't. It was a government program. I don't know if you know about it or not.
No.
Pretty deep. Remote viewing, basically the government enlisted, they took GIs, regular GIs, and they trained them how to meditate and how to transport their consciousness to target sites in Russia and all these different places. And they made a really cool movie out of it with Ben Kingsley. And they were able to, in real time, draw pictures and do counterintelligence in all these places and find missing persons and all this really cool stuff with mental telepathy.
Wow.
There it is. Yeah. So my point of that being, in my version, my hypothesis of human beings and their involvement in the universe is that it's possible, and I'm not saying this is the truth, I'm just saying it's really possible that time and space are not permanent and they're relative, and that we can project consciousness and receive consciousness from a long time ago. Maybe there's this wealth of knowledge, ancient knowledge that still exists in the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
That's just out there that when you take my point of this is when you that you lower the regular human being defenses of openness to consciousness, because most people don't meditate. Your
defense mechanisms kind of go away. Right. Yeah.
And your contextual beliefs of what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way you've been indoctrinated into society, and your experiences of what happens you can kind of shed those for a bit, and you can kind of really be in the moment for a second.
Yeah.
There's which was too much. But I'm outside on some land, and these my dogs are with me, right? And they start circling around me like a blur almost, and they're kind of barking at each other, and so I'm just like, I'm having to lay on the ground because I'm kind of freaking out, and I start kind of barking back at them, so I'm going and they're going around me, and then I sit up, and it's Christmas time, so there's this tree line, and then there's there's a house behind the tree line with like a row of lights, right? And I'm kind of really having I'm going through basically a time warp. Like I feel like a time traveler at this point. And I'm able to kind of like you know, the cliche phrase, put yourself in somebody's shoes. You know, I'm able to kind of think of myself as like an ancient Egyptian, but not like in a way that you think of it. Because whenever you think of history like that, that's so separated from me, it feels like a movie or a story, and you're kind of putting yourself in a fictional character. But I was able to kind of think of like, oh, these are real people, not very far separated from me, that went through something completely different. You know, it's this weird perception of time. It's a beneficial experience, and since then, I know this is a dumb thing to say, and I don't mean it literally, but I feel like I'm more in tune and not predicting the future, but like things happen and they make more sense, and I'm kind of aware of what's going to happen, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It does. I think we don't even know what we're capable of. You know, how did the Egyptians build those pyramids?
Yeah, who knows? Aliens? Egyptians? Who knows?
With their hands? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Didn't they just say that we have a unidentified flying object, not of this world, or whatever the verbiage there is?
But no one really cares right now because there's other stuff going on.
I know.
Now's the time to drop it.
That's how they roll.
Yeah.
It's political. We've been asking for this for a long time, and then all of a sudden the Pentagon's like, "Hey, guess what?"
Yeah.
And then but nobody's talking about it, right? It's all about everything else.
Yeah, it's all about the plague and the election and the impending apocalypse, you know.
Yeah.
The fear mongering of yeah, at this point I'm 26, but at this point I'm used to it. It's like it's part of being American, you know. It's like, all right, here we go. The fear mongering and the election cycles, and it's like, I'm not sitting here saying that the coronavirus is like a hoax or anything. It's definitely a serious thing to worry about, but I see the different perspectives and the way they want to talk about it, and it's just an opportunistic time that this has arisen. So it's, you know, being an American in my generation is you feel a little bit apathetic, you know, to your surroundings, and to your control over the system or something, because you kind of see what it's been doing for so long and its limited lifespan, and you just kind of see like, this probably isn't going anywhere good.
No, I might have killed myself at your age if I had to live through this, because I didn't have I was really depressed. I was an unhappy person, and I didn't have the mental capacity to understand it and to deal with it and to process, like, am I going to have a future?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Imagine being a kid and like and it's like going to be your senior year of high school, and it's just like, oh, it's canceled. Dude, and that's a whole different reality.
It's nuts. My daughter graduated one in 2019. So 1 year before this whole thing. Thank God she got to finish school.
Yeah. Is she going to college? I wouldn't want to go right now.
Hey, Sammy, I'm going to talk about you, girl. So my daughter loves marijuana.
Who doesn't?
Well, you know. And she's in California, so
that's the place to be.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay for that. I'm not there because, you know, it's not the place to be for me. But it is a cool place. It's one of the best places in the world. It's just got some bad politics and funky stuff.
I wouldn't want to pay a state income tax, you know. I wouldn't want to pay the real estate prices. Dude. But I would like to not get arrested for smoking weed.
That'd be pretty awesome.
I would like to be around the creative scene in a city like that, and the ocean. So it's got its perks.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's nice about Travis County is that in Texas, Austin,
they just pulled that shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like they won't prosecute you for more than an ounce.
Yeah, so basically, if you're just like a personal consumer, you're going to be okay. Which just a few years ago, I had friends in Denton and Lubbock you got caught with like a pipe with some resin or just a little bit, and you're going to jail for the night. You know,
yeah, I've met some people out here that have gotten
it's some bullshit. But finally, it's starting to evolve, and I think that when there's other things to worry about, hopefully, people will stop worrying about this.
Man, I hope so. It's ridiculous.
It's the dumbest shit.
You can go buy a bottle of Mad Dog 2020 or whatever it is and get hammered and go kill somebody really easily, but nobody's gonna do that.
I've drank a lot in my life. I've smoked a lot of weed, and I would say that alcohol is way more dangerous and way worse for your mental health, for your relationships, for everything.
All of it.
But it's just a part of our society.
Clinton didn't inhale my ass. You know,
Clinton probably inhaled some ass.
He did inhale a lot of ass. Young ass at that.
Oh, of course.
Him and Epstein playing around, whatever that is.
It's funny to see someone like Hillary like champion the Me Too movement and the women's movement while staying married to a guy who, if he did what he did nowadays, he'd be freaking lynched in the streets.
How'd he get away with it?
This is the 90s, you know.
I'm not that smart. But he is, or his lawyers are.
When you can pay for the best lawyers, you know.
I hear they like to ice people. that get in their way.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, we'll see if what's the Epstein's wife's name? We'll see if she survives. You know, we're all kind of watching, waiting to see.
Ghislaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that whole story is nuts, man.
It's insane.
The people that can get outed and what that means, and I hear Hollywood is pretty gnarly like that too. Like
Dude,
they drink kids' blood. And there's
if you want to talk
I don't know if it's real or not.
You want to talk about conspiracy theories right now? Hollywood pedophile rings are in. You know, that's the new theory, QAnon, all that stuff. And it kind of stems from there being like a possible true event, so where then it kind of spiral out of control and you don't know what to believe, and everyone's just saying every single person's a pedophile.
Jesus.
You know, and anyone with power pretty much is a pedophile at this point. It's definitely interesting. I love conspiracy theories, and I love the more ridiculous, the better, almost, because I appreciate the con artist way that someone presents it, like a conspiracy theorist who's popular, like Alex Jones or something.
Sure.
Like they start off with facts. You know, they kind of reel you in with real things, and then so by the time they say the most ridiculous, you know, lizard people or water making frogs gay or something, by the time they get to that, some people are kind of zoned into them communicating a real idea that then they will buy the next idea. And with the internet, those are just, you know, very running rampant.
It's true.
Yeah.
I first got into that whole thing. You know, it was a rabbit hole in 2010, I think, 11, when the Zeitgeist came out.
Oh, that's a great documentary.
Dude, it just like it ruined a lot of things for me.
The way that it talks about Christianity is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I don't know what to say other than that. I mean, if there's that many stories of Jesus with the exact same, you know, born of a virgin, died on the cross, resurrected from the grave, and there's like 7 or 8 or 5 or even of those stories, then plagiarism happened.
Yeah.
And it's just a story.
Or you could look at it as in like humans kind of have evolved to use this certain thing to kind of mold their society and the morals of their society, and it's just kind of ingrained in us instinctually that this is our story, these are our teachings.
Sure.
You know, I came from a very Southern Baptist traditional church, and I kind of grew to hate it, and then the church as a whole because of that, not knowing that was not representative of all the church. It wasn't like Westboro or anything, but it was definitely not. It was a kind of a fundamentalist, like all of these stories are completely true, and the earth was created in 7 days. Gay people go to hell.
Right,
Fuck you, all that stuff.
Right.
And at 17, I was just like, fuck y'all. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
You know what I hate about the fact that I never got involved in a church, and the fact that churches can be so awesome. They really can.
Yeah, it's a community.
That's what I'm getting at. Is
Yeah.
I don't have a community. I wish I had 500 people that have my back, or 2,000 people.
It's like a networking thing for businesses. It's like a way. If someone dies in your family and you're part of a church, you're just flooded with food and warmth.
It's beautiful.
There's great things about it, but it can also be used to kind of pit people against each other. You know, you can see the religious right and the way that they can attack people in a non-Christian way because of their Christian values. It does kind of rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you talk about spirituality and you talk about working on your own life and being part of a community that tries to uplift each other, and there's definitely benefits to it, but it's weird humans can find a way to fuck everything up
every time.
Yeah.
Every single time. I mean, look at the Constitution, like the best thing ever written in the history of humans.
Yeah.
To keep humans together in peace and harmony, to as much as that's possible.
Yeah.
And kick ass, and it just keeps getting shit on.
Yeah.
You know, and we want to change it.
Yeah.
See, it occurs to me that way. I don't know if it's
no. I see that, but it's also nice that you can amend it. You know,
Sure.
And I think that's more of the beauty of it, is that you can, but you can also amend something in a bad way. You can take away too many freedoms. You know, I kind of look at it as like, if there's a policy that needs to be changed that grants more freedoms to people that will not in effect hurt people, then it should do that. You talk
Right.
about freeing the slaves, that's an amendment that's needed, you know. But if you want to talk about trying to amend and taking away, say, gun rights, or trying to, you know, stomp on someone's right as a human being, I'm not cool with that.
No, it ain't cool. Speaking of which, do you know about Hawaii? I just watched this documentary last night. Stayed up till like 2 a.m. watching it.
What's it about?
Dude, we basically stole Hawaii. They were like a sovereign free nation.
That's America. We stole everything.
We just stole that shit.
We're the best at stealing, dude.
And it was like, I know, right? There was like 5 American businessmen there in the cane industry, in the sugar cane industry. And they were just dominating with their money, and they were influencing the royal family. and they were like globally accepted as this nation, as this independent nation. And then these guys got mad because they wanted to have more power and more say, and they just made it happen to take over, brought the military in, and just like, you guys are...
They take it by force? Is it what you're saying?
No, just by... we were there militarily, and we didn't attack them or anything, but they knew that if they were to try to fight what was happening...
They would lose. 100%.
They would totally lose.
Is there a benefit to them by being part of... I mean, not really. They got involved in a war they might not have been involved in if...
well, they avoided
World War II,
they avoided... Well, that's true.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
true.
if they wouldn't have been part of the U.S., they might have not been fucked up during World War II.
Well, they didn't... They had, like, clubs and spears and stuff for, like, their military. So I don't think they had, like, a real military force. They were very loving, like, peaceful people that maybe had sex with their sister, but... that was the extent of their...
That still happens in the U.S. today. I mean, go to Arkansas.
Right. Is that real?
I know a few, and
Like your
I'm not
sister?
saying I'm not saying they're inbred, but I've met some dumb Arkansas people. I'm gonna cut that out.
Right. I thought they were in Florida.
That would make sense too. But I mean, think about Jerry Lee Lewis. He married his 13-year-old cousin.
He did.
Yeah.
Cousins are a tough one.
Dude, I took a deep dive on that a couple months ago because I knew the story, and then I was finding these like documentaries that interviewed the woman, the cousin that he married, and she was like standing behind him, and like nowadays, if a 13-year-old girl married her cousin that was way older than her, they would just completely shit on him and me too him and drag him through the streets, you know? And this woman was kind of like, I loved him. I didn't really know what love meant or sex meant, but I loved him. It's the weirdest thing to watch. And there's even a quote, there's this like hour-long interview with her that I watched where she was saying like, well, yeah, my aunt married her cousin, and we believe that, like, you know, as long as it's like the first cousin, you're okay. I'm like, where do you get your facts from that? She just kind of said it. So, and that's like, it's also weird to think that was like 60, 70 years ago.
Not that long ago. And it's been going on since the beginning of time. I mean, it's nothing new. In fact, Sardinia is
Hey, David.
Sardinia is off the coast of Sicily.
Okay.
Off Italy. And island, you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Beautiful place. And they have I think it's Okinawa, and then Sardinia has the oldest living people.
Wow.
And it was like 6 families that started this country.
So it's, yeah.
You know, their own family, the sisters and cousins, probably.
Yeah.
And they're like the oldest living people. So I think that has to do with genetics too. Like,
that's true.
There was some family members in there that had long life genes. So I know that's an interesting story.
That is interesting.
I'm kind of,
and you would like, even if you go, no, but if you go back to biblical stories, you kind of think, you know, if Adam and Eve started the whole thing, then it's going to be started from that.
Right?
Yeah. Which is something that it kind of freaks me out, but
I know it's strange. You know, life is so complicated, and the stories of life are so complicated, and there's so many different versions of it that it's overwhelming. And what's a person to do? You got to pick one, right?
Yeah. At this point, there's so much information that you can never absorb all of it to really because I try, you can't say you are, but I try to be objective and take in as much information as I can, but I have to realize I will never have all of the information to make any decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the gut, the instinct comes in,
100%.
Right? Is from the beginning what's right.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, but then I wonder, like, is it your upbringing, the way that you were influenced as a kid is definitely going to influence, because you know, Hitler might have had a gut feeling too.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I'm a good person. I try to be, and I think you are too. But what if our gut feeling and our compass is off and we don't know it?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
Unless you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
And then that's not the norm. That's a small percentage.
That's true.
Of the
it's an outlier.
Yeah. Real regular folks, you know, anybody but a psychopath or a sociopath or whatever, that gut feeling is always a good one. And then it's the crap, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think 100% of the time that good people have good gut feelings. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the fact that they got hurt when they were a kid, or this had happened. So they're using those experiences as a filter to react however they reacted.
That's true.
or the alcohol or whatever it is that causes them to do things that they normally wouldn't do or shouldn't do, or it's self-inflicting some kind of damage. I honestly believe that words are they're cool and everything, and books are really cool and all that, and words, you can make magic with words. And it's not as important as action.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
To me, the only real truth, because everything else is subjective, is the action.
Yeah.
And why people can sit on YouTube and watch people like make things and do things and not talk for hours.
Yeah.
Like, I could sit there and watch someone build a house for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and be like enthralled with, because they're in this place of a flow state. And that thing is contagious. And body language is contagious.
Oh yeah, there's some evolutionary biologist said if you like were to take a video of like either a couple interacting or any social interaction, and you take away the what people are saying and you just watch their body language, you can know a whole lot more than what actually they're talking about.
Yes.
And I think that would be an interesting experiment to kind of, silence any words and communication that's going on and just watch what someone's doing. That's another thing that kind of goes back to what you were talking about. How, if words live in your head versus manifesting them, you could talk about all you want, you're going to do something, but if you took away the communication and the language and you just witness what someone's doing on a daily basis, it could be 100% flipped from what they're saying.
Completely. Yeah. The way to trust people's actions, not their words.
Yeah. And that's the number one thing I look at. Like I think you see that on a political scale all the time. Everyone has to have their talking point and say what they're going to do, and then but you can watch what they're actually going to fulfill, and it's usually never that. But they have to get elected somehow, and people want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah, it's true. It's complicated.
Yeah. How you feeling about the new VP announcement for Joe Biden?
Kamala?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about her.
Me neither.
To me, politicians, they just have they're stacked against them because they're not. I don't believe that they're the actual shot callers for any major decisions. Like, it's got to go up the chain, and I don't care if you're the president, the vice president. You've got all these constituents and all these, different people that you're responsible
you don't really have
to.
Executive power.
I don't think so.
No.
If there was, there would have been a president that would have just made it all work.
Yeah.
Like some awesome president that made everything work, right? And
there's never a president that gets out with a clean slate. Never.
No. Yeah. They get beat up in there. They look old when they come out.
No, they age. If they're in there for 4, they age for 15.
Something like that. Yeah. It's a job like Joe Rogan talks about this all the time.
No one can do that.
No one can do that job by themselves. You need like a tribunal of like 12 awesome people, like a musician and a teacher and a doctor and
a council of elders.
Yeah, dude. Like, this needs to become some kind of cool Bill and Ted's movie.
Yeah.
Where everything turns out right. And it's going to take some magical people to make it happen. And it starts with us. It starts with us doing these really cool, amazing things like creating art and creating community. Like, the thing that's missing, like, I don't have community, and I've been in Austin 3 years, and I have a few friends and stuff.
It takes time.
It does. I have a few friends, but it's, especially when you get older, it's really hard to make friends.
That's like I've seen the church have, because when you're young, you go out to bars, you get drunk with people, you socialize, you make one friend, they introduce you to somebody.
Right.
But when you're older, I've seen people that I know who are 40s or 50s, and when they move to a new town, they go to a church and get plugged in there, and then you have 10 friends in your Sunday school class, and then that's a way that people can get plugged in. So there are benefits to I think to churches for sure.
Definitely.
I've been working at churches now for a year, so I kind of see that, and churches that are not as radical, so I kind of am okay being there.
Sure. Yeah, there's some cool ones. There's this one in LA called it's Bernard Michael Beckwith is his name. Bernard Michael. He was in that Secret movie.
Oh, The Secret?
Yeah.
Okay, heard all about that.
He's the black dude with the dreads.
Okay.
And his church, I went to his church before, and the people are just like super cool, and they're into like, God is real, and we're all these creative, beautiful human beings that are all a part of God, right? You're not a part of God.
Yeah, it's not like a separate entity that is this like authoritative force.
Could be, but we're from that.
Yeah, it's
right?
no, it's I kind of look at it as like if I were, I don't. This is just kind of spitballing, but if I were to look at God, it would just be every human put together. Does that make sense?
Sure. Here's a trippy one. So, and a part of the whole remote viewing thing where you can teleport yourself. So, scientifically, everything is, and this is not new for most people. But there's no difference between my skin and this microphone and this table and the sky and the floor. If you magnify matter down to its smallest particles, right? The smallest particle that a magnifying glass or a microscope can see, if you magnify that, we have microscopes that'll go 50,000 times beyond what the smallest particle that we can see with that microscope. 50,000 times further than that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It means that everything that we know that's in the universe is just energy. All matter is just energy underneath all of what we can see and the perception of it. So if that's the case, then everything is connected. And you can't say that it's not. Our perception of it and the way that it feels and the way that it tastes and the way that it smells and all these things have distinct characteristics. But what's underneath all of that is just energy. It's matter that you can't see.
Yeah.
So what the heck is that? To me, that's the God, that's the matrix, that's the God force, that's where everything comes from. So if you can somehow connect to that through meditation, through music, through working out is a great way. Anything that has to do with movement in one way or another, if you can connect to that, what's possible? That's where I think that all things are possible in that space.
Yeah.
And when I think that I've gotten into that space
100%.
and I'm sure you have, like you went to a magical place that didn't exist in the real world, right?
No. It's one of those kind of things where you kind of come down from it and it's just like, I got to rearrange what's in here and the way, everything is working. Cause after you can live your life for a while and, a spade is a spade and this is the table I'm sitting at. And in the morning I go to work and then I like to eat a cheeseburger at night and you can kind of get set in your ways. And then you can even know that you need to be spiritual and you need to try and, clear your mind and be present. But it just can become impossible with, life circumstances and the way, things that happen to you when you were a kid and all of that. You can kind of get lost in that and it's impossible to get out of it. And for some reason, I've done a good amount, but whenever I went, over the edge and I took that many, it was definitely an experience that kind of was like a recalibration almost.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I've had a couple of crazy experiences that changed my life. Really, really cool stuff, man. This one time, I was at a Dave Matthews concert in 97, 98, 97.
This is around when you wrote the song we recorded.
Yeah. And I can't remember if I wrote this song before or after. And I never wrote it down. I just jammed it out and then never forgot it.
That's awesome that you didn't forget it. Because I forget a lot of stuff, in a much shorter time.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've never been disciplined with music and to this day, I mean, I jammed this out with you and I didn't come in prepared. Yeah. I had these chords and I knew these words.
Cool.
And then we had a song when we were done, thanks to you. And so I was at a Dave Matthews concert and I think I had probably taken it was enough.
Yeah.
Because I was tripping. In a good way. And I've always been super insecure, but not so much anymore. I've figured out how to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure
but it's an issue, especially if you're overweight from a young age, I've been there.
Yeah. Getting picked on, not feeling like I belonged, all the stupid stuff that human beings come up with to like feel sorry for themselves and not do the work.
Yeah.
Because the work is hard.
Excuses are easy.
Yeah. It is. My wife calls it being reasonable.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah, good.
All right, say it again.
It's funny because we're not actually married. We're spiritually married.
Gotcha.
We just don't care about the paper. But
it's kind of weird. The government has to tell me that I'm married, but
yeah,
I guess for tax purposes or something. So.
It may not be beneficial sometimes. Plus, you're anyways,
Yeah.
there's a lot, there's good and bads in both.
Yeah, we digress. But
Yeah, we digress.
Dave Matthews.
Dave Matthews. And I'm there and it's cool. And, I wasn't a big Dave Matthews fan or anything. But then the started kicking in. And I'm there with Carter Beauford, who's this drummer that is he's one of the best. Super good drummer. And I start just locking in with him and connecting to his groove. And he was so in the moment and so with the people and making them dance in this perfect way that I just started to dance with like random people.
Yeah.
And I never danced in front of anybody in my whole life. Like there was no way you'd see me on the dance floor. Like I was so insecure about my body and how I moved it. And I spent, the majority of the concert just jamming out with people and have the best time of my life. And then towards the end, I had this epiphany. It was like, well, if rhythm is this magical, then it must have this kind of universal thing about it that things are possible because of rhythm. The earth spins at a certain speed.
Mm-hmm.
People walk at a certain rhythm.
Yeah.
They talk at a certain rhythm.
100%.
And this cadence has meaning, that there's something.
Even athletes talk about like, I was getting in the rhythm, it's like a flow state that they enter, I'm a drummer. I understand that I'm, when I'm trying to really get in the rhythm, it's nothing about a technical thing. There's nothing technical about it.
No. Do you kind of find yourself swaying? Is there an internal sway that you have?
Sometimes I'm just kind of, I'm trying to humanize it. I'm trying to like put a good human stamp on it, because rhythm is so instinctual to human beings in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all started with the drum and the tribe and dancing and it still happens today
100%.
on a primal level. And it's something that is highly missing for people is being able to go dance.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that love to go to the clubs and go two-stepping or
dance halls, made some money off of those. I've been all through those. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The pit bull kicking through the speakers, whatever your deal is.
Yeah, it's usually a lot of bass and a lot of rhythm.
Yeah, and they're both awesome. So that breakthrough kind of in that moment, that rhythm was life basically, and without it, things wouldn't happen. It coexisted with awesomeness, and so then I started saying to myself, well, what's possible with rhythm? In that moment at this concert. And as the concert started to end, as I started having this breakthrough, and people were leaving, going down the stairs out of the Concord Pavilion. And so I was like, I bet I can do all kinds of neat things and not screw up.
You got your superpowers.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided that I was going to jump down this flight of stairs, and I did it without any hesitation whatsoever.
How many stairs?
It was a full flight.
Yeah.
I don't know, 10, 12. It was like a full flight in a complex, in a pavilion.
Yeah.
And there's like people walking down the stairs on the left, and I saw an opening on the right, and I didn't hesitate. I just friggin' went for it.
Yeah.
And jumped, flew back by the people, smiled at these people as they were walking down the stairs, and they were like, oh my God, here's a 350-pound guy just flying down the stairs. I got to the bottom of the landing of the stairs, and just like a feather, whoosh.
Just kind of absorbed the shock of the fall, got back up. And
like magic. Like John Belushi.
Yeah.
You ever see him do backflips and stuff?
Yeah.
It was like he was able to get to the space we're talking about, that nothingness place.
I think he used different drugs, but yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He was a special dude.
I love John Belushi.
I do too.
Yeah.
Super special dude. And I did that a few times and didn't get hurt one little bit. And it had the most amazing time doing it every single time. And I should have broke every bone in my body.
Yeah.
Or at least my ankle or something gnarly from those jumps. But I timed them so perfectly. I was so locked into the rhythm that I didn't make a mistake. And then I decided to go down to the parking lot of the show. And I thought I could jump over the hoods of cars. So I started hurling the hoods of cars. And I was a pretty athletic kid my whole life.
Yeah.
But I never did anything with it. I wasn't outside playing ball. I was playing Atari and eating and watching TV. That's all I did.
Pong, or what was the Oregon Trail or something? Any of those?
No, I played Pong. I played Asteroids.
Oh, I played that.
And I could play Asteroids for like 10, 12
Still
hours.
a great game.
It was a cool game. Yeah. But mostly TV. Like I was a junkie for TV. I love movies. I love television. I could, those story, you know, the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell, you know about that?
Yeah.
I mean, they would get me every time, and I would be Rocky. I would be all of those
That's what makes
characters.
those so great. Is
The
you put
best,
yourself
yeah.
in their shoes.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so I live vicariously through that thing, through that tube, my whole life, as much as possible. I wasted a lot of my time. After getting done jumping over the hoods of cars a few times, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, and not touching their car and making it over, it was like magic. Dude.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
You're an Olympic athlete.
Yeah. Somehow, some way, I should not have been able to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just cutting the corner of the car. I don't remember exactly. But I was jumping over that hood for sure and getting air and getting way up there. People were tripping on me, dude. They were like, this guy's
If there were cell phones,
unbelievable.
everyone would be, filming. you.
Yeah, that would have been the best.
Yeah.
That would have been the best.
You would have been viral.
I would have been viral. Yeah, it would have been nuts. And then the coolest part to me was at the very end. The concert was all done. I had just started playing guitar maybe 1.5 years before this. So, and I knew like 3 or 4 chords and
That's all you need.
could barely play an Eagles song, like hardly. And I sat on the trunk of the car. I remember it was like a Toyota what is that Toyota? Stupid little Toyota. I forget. It was like a little sports car Toyota.
Okay. Celica?
No, it wasn't a Celica. It was smaller than that. I can't remember the name of it.
Trying to think.
Me too. It was teal green.
I don't know.
Anyways, sitting on the trunk of that thing,
Yeah.
and I just put my head down and I started playing my guitar. And unfortunately, at the time I had this beautiful Taylor 810 Dreadnought, this just gorgeous guitar that I didn't deserve to own because
Yeah. That's every guitar I've ever had.
it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I probably played for like a half an hour, and I was like in the moment. I was making words up and singing like I usually did, but it was magic.
Yeah.
Because I've never been disciplined. I never wrote anything out. I would just sing and make words up. And that was always the most fun to me. Like to be disciplined and write songs was like work. And I didn't want to lose weight. I didn't want to do work. But anyway, I picked my head up and there was like 20 or 30 people like standing there in this semicircle that had been watching me, and they just
Wow.
started clapping and like, dude, that was so awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that was amazing. And I was like, whoa, wow, that was cool.
It's cool that you achieved that, like, at such an early stage in your, like, endeavors as a musician, because some musicians work their whole life and they'll never have 20 people say good job. That's a really cool thing to
It wasn't me.
experience.
It wasn't me. It was like, to me, it was like this ancient
Yeah.
voice that was coming through me, something else from somewhere else. It was not me.
Mm-hmm.
None of the athletic stuff, like that was just like something working through me to manifest these ideas that I had, or at least I thought I had these ideas, or maybe they were gifts
Yeah.
from God knows who. I don't know. I mean, it's too abstract and too unbelievable, right? For some fat dude to be jumping flights of stairs and over cars and
Yeah.
rocking out after 1.5 years on guitar and entertaining people like that. And what's funny is that I spent years trying to replicate that moment, that experience that I had with music specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work, right? I didn't really get what that whole thing was. I didn't get that I had to be disciplined with a metronome, right? And work it out until my true self could actually get what pocket was, what rhythm was. Or should I say because but's a bad word. And that experience at that concert helped me win The Biggest Loser.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think that discipline is something that's, very hard to hone in. And Jason Isbell, I'm a big fan of his, and he talked about how, I'm going to butcher what he said, but he's basically saying that, like, talent doesn't necessarily mean you have some innate ability to do something. It means that you enjoy doing it, and it doesn't feel like you need to be disciplined. So he talks about him being a musician, and like he would play for hours because it wasn't discipline or it wasn't work for him. It was just fun, and he got really good feedback from it, so he would do it a lot.
Right.
And I kind of have a weird relationship with that because I was like put into piano lessons as a kid, and I enjoyed playing, but I didn't want to do the things that would make me better. I just wanted to play. I wanted to find pieces that I liked, and just I was the kind of crazy kid that could play by ear, and so I would just kind of want to do fun things. And then I was in the lessons where they said you need to play this scale and this piece that you don't like because you'll learn the technique. And I'm like, fuck you, I'm bored. I'm gonna go play the drums.
Right.
So then I go to play drums, and I smash drums for a while, and I get bored after a year or two. And I'm pretty good for my age, and I didn't really get into it too much until it was like in school. I could not have to take other classes and take this thing I'm good at and not really have to worry about doing anything hard for an hour in school. And so I'd get some practice in there, and the feedback I enjoyed because I was good at something. I think that I don't think that there's obviously people that have like an innate ability to do something, but I think it's honed in by just enjoying doing that thing. And that's probably, you can kind of screw people over by just saying, do what you love, because a lot of times doing what you love won't pay the bills, or doing what you love, you might not actually be as good as you think you are. But at the end of the day, you're never gonna you're gonna be the best at something if it's actually something that you enjoy. So discipline is definitely something. Like, I don't enjoy eating salads and working out every day. I don't think a lot of people do, but I enjoy the benefits, and I've been in parts of my life where I'm in really good shape lifting weights, and I understand that. I'm like, oh, I'll never get back to the point where I put on weight again. I need to drop weight again. And then the cycle comes in, and I'm like, oh, I'm here again. What the fuck?
It is it's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Weight is it's what 67% of the population struggling with it.
Yeah.
And the world is like hurting too. It's like a global. Honestly, we talk about the pandemic. 500,000 people die a year from being fat.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously there's this new thing that we don't want extra people to die, but like you could also completely outlaw cigarettes. You could completely outlaw processed sugar. Someone was saying that the day, and I was like, I mean, slightly a point. Now, I also want freedom in society, so it's like I wouldn't also want to outlaw something, but at the same time, that would save a lot of lives.
Yeah. I don't know. It's complicated. Like Japan has like a waistline measurement thing where
Really?
Yeah. I want to say that it's almost like illegal to be fat there.
Wow.
And to some degree, like your job.
Is that where sumo wrestling comes from?
Yeah.
So not those guys?
Not those dudes. No.
If you're an athlete who's somehow morbidly obese, then you're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They don't get penalized. I'm not sure what it is. I know that it's something to do with your waistline, and it's really small. It's like 34.5 inches or something.
Wow.
Anything over that, and you have to pay more in taxes, or
Whoa.
No, I think it's the employer. The employer has,
because of health insurance purposes, probably?
maybe something like that.
Whoa.
I forget. I'm just, I'm this bro science.
We're talking out our ass the whole time.
Totally out my ass right now. but that part's real.
Yeah.
I never
heard that.
The circumference of the waist, and they have like a really low obesity problem. It's like 10% compared to, or less.
Wow.
They're doing good over there, and they have like McDonald's, and they have vending machines everywhere. But I guess their vending machines are dope. They've got like good food in there.
Yeah, it's like refrigerated and then like heated, and like you can actually get a meal, right?
I can't wait to go there. That's like one of my favorite countries.
That'll be cool.
Sushi's my favorite food, for sure.
Where's your local sushi spot?
It's called. There's a new one we just went to. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of the other one either. We hardly go.
Mm-hmm.
It's called. Oh, dude, it's bomb. The guy is. If you Google he was a chef at Nobu in Vegas.
Whoa.
Which is like some big deal.
Yeah.
And he opened a place. It's kind of like by Cedar Park.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you ever fuck with the HEB sushi?
Hell no.
They have a sushi ya in the one here, and so I've gotten it a few times for like $12 or $10 a roll. It's not really worth it, but it's all right. It's not gas station sushi by any means.
I don't know. Even Whole Foods sushi is bootsy. It's garbage.
Yeah.
But
you got to be picky with food like that.
I'm a sushi kind of snob. I've been eating sushi, you wouldn't believe it, since 1982.
Wow. What's your go-to kind of roll?
It's a long time ago. That's before anybody even ate sushi.
Yeah, before it was hip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like the crazy stuff, like sea urchin. Have you had that?
No.
No?
No. I honestly, I rarely even get the raw stuff when I'm eating sushi. I will if I'm at a nice place, but I'm not going to go get like raw salmon or whatever from like HEB.
Dude, you gotta let me take you to this place.
Yeah, of course.
I'll blow your mind with some stuff. You
That'd
may
be
like
awesome.
it, you may not, but I'm sure you'll like most of it.
No, I like to load up on some wasabi, and throw it down the hatch.
It's the bomb. It's a beautiful art form, that they like in Japan. I think guys make rice for like 10 years until they get that right.
Whoa.
Some nuts, like the mastery takes like forever.
That's the cultural discipline right there.
Yeah. I think they call it Kaizen.
Wow.
And it's just the mastery of an art. And, Malcolm Gladwell talks about 10,000 hours.
Yeah. I've heard that rule. Musicians know all about that rule.
Yeah, I do now. I've got 10,000 hours. I probably got 40,000 hours of noodling.
That's practice, man. That's practice.
Kind of. If you don't know scales, though, it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, but sometimes people know scales and all they play is the scales and it bores me. I don't want to hear a scale. I want to hear music.
That's true. You always got good answers to make me feel good about myself. I like
doing
that.
this job for a while.
I like that. You're like one of the best psychiatrists I ever work with. And it's,
I should be certified.
You should be. You should.
I'd probably make a little more money.
Life coaches can make bank.
Really?
Hundreds an hour. You imagine being a life coach for musicians that are insecure.
Musicians don't have money though.
I know, that's a problem. Yeah. I have a weight loss program. It's called the Comeback Weight Loss Challenge. Everybody deserves a comeback.
Nice.
And it's $297, $300.
Yeah.
And you basically bet on yourself. If you can lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks, you get your money back.
Whoa.
And
so you're kind of banking on people failing at your own
yeah, dude.
program.
Everybody fails.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to do it. And the cool thing about this program is it's based on loss aversion. So if you were to give me $300 to train you, there's a good chance that you would stop doing your training sessions. A lot of personal training sessions get lost by people that pay for it. They know they have a certain amount of time to use it. And then a lot of people don't use it.
They just don't do it.
Just like, it's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
Or paying for a gym and not going. I think
most people do that.
The gyms have 50,000 members and only 2,000 go regularly. Stupid numbers. It's crazy. So with loss aversion, it's basically like taking something from me. So you've got my $300 and it's a deposit. I'm not going to let you take that $300. I'm losing that 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. You're not taking
It's a good idea. It's a good idea that yields results. It's just interesting that for your business model to be successful, you need your participants to fail.
I need the highest. My goal is to have as many people, is to have the highest percentage
successful
contestants or successful participants in a program lose all of their weight, get to a healthy body weight. That's my goal. And I'll be a champion if I can get 20% of the people to lose 20 pounds.
Really?
Like a champion.
Gotcha.
So yeah, 80% of the people are going to fail. And that's not, I want 100%. Can you imagine if 100% of the people that joined lost the 20 pounds, got their money back, and if they needed to lose 120 pounds, they stayed in the program, they kept doing it, they lost all their weight, they had this amazing transformation. I wish everybody would do that, because then I'd be like Richard Simmons and this megastar, right?
Yeah.
Because I have the most successful weight loss coach of all time.
You'd be the next P90X.
Yeah, but better.
Yeah.
Because 100%.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to make any money. I would love for that to happen. The problem is that, in my opinion, the people that are like, even Joe Rogan, he's always talking about fat people. He's always talking about people losing weight. He's never been fat before.
Yeah, he doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand. He's got some great points.
Yeah.
Some super great
But he's
points.
been disciplined all his life, and he's a different animal than people that actually have to lose a certain amount of weight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he'll talk about, I got fat. It's like, you were 10 pounds over where you were now. It's like, no, you didn't get fat.
He's never been fat.
Yeah.
No, he's a special human being he's been driving himself since he was young physically. Those people don't get the amount of failure that's in the body. The amount of all these memories are stored, whether you want it in your subconscious mind or in your body, whatever you believe. I believe it's in the body. That it takes believing that it's going to happen. First off, you got to trust the process, believe in the process, and believe in yourself. Like with music, believing in yourself is more important than the technical part of it, right?
No, the confidence is like the number one thing you got to have.
Some of the best bands were like guys that could barely play their instrument.
Yeah.
And they went up there with the nastiest
Just
attitude.
take over the stage.
And just own it, right?
Yeah.
And kill it. And
I know some virtuosos that can go get on stage and no one gives a fuck, even though they're playing the most complicated thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
There's definitely many facets to doing music.
Yes. Yeah. There can only be so many Steve Vai's and Joe Satriani's. And,
Yeah. And they are virtuosos, but also confident. You know,
Yeah.
they have the confidence.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's rare. It's rare that that people want to hear like this super complicated music.
Yeah, it's a niche thing. You
For
know,
sure.
it's all about being accessible, you know. And that's another thing that gave me. It's like I didn't give a fuck about complicated music. I'm a musician, so I've always loved seeing that from a technical standpoint. I wanted to hear the right amount of notes at the right amount of times. You
Right.
know? Because there's an art form to that, and even the most, you know, the musicians that can play the most complex things usually can't write a song that's a hit that that resonates with people.
Sure.
It's a different animal, and it's I've been more on the side of the technical person and spent the last 10 years of my life trying to get over to just being a human that's not, it doesn't even know anything about music, trying to listen to music and understand the way it feels and the way, like, you know, the message and the feeling is communicated.
All right. So, dude, lay on the floor
Yeah.
and listen to Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
I've not listened to that on, but I've listened to that album a lot, and I've watched it behind Wizard of Oz. I know. I love that album. Now I need to do that on.
Dude, I cried the whole album.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
song.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Every song just was like my life. It was the world. It was, man.
Yeah. There's, you know, songs like Money. They're just amazing. Just yesterday I watched this interview with Alan Parsons, the guy that engineered it, and so he's talking about, because that's during tape era, so like trying to make a loop of cash registers going around the room is not easy. Nowadays I could do it in 10 minutes on a computer, but using tape to kind of do that's insane. And it's very experimental and it's lush, but you know, it's also not complex. It's like it's kind of creates a world that you just kind of get to sit in for a while. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Same with Boston, their album.
I haven't really got into Boston.
No?
I met one of their old drummers and I was like 5. I didn't know who he was, and he signed a pair of sticks. But I don't know his name anymore. But I never really listened to their music.
Dude, I think it's Third Stage.
Okay.
They took him 3 years to create that album.
Wow.
And it's considered like one of the best recorded albums of all time. So it's worth
Let's check it out.
Yeah. I think it was 78 or something that they made it.
Okay.
Can you imagine like 3 years to do an album?
Yeah. I used to kind of rush through things. And there's different mindsets for doing different things. Like some people will take, you know, a month to write a song, and it's like, it shouldn't take that long usually. Maybe you should just get it done with, move to the next one. Because there is kind of a mindset to like, you need to write 100 songs before you have a good one. So if you take a month to write your song, you're never going to write a good one. But I've been working on an album with a buddy Lee, and it's probably going to take a year. Kind of like 2 to 3 sessions a week. You know, throwing stuff on, throwing stuff off, new song, get rid of that song. And I have seen kind of the results of being patient with it and kind of chipping away at it. And, you know, in the current music industry, you got to pump out a lot of music if you want to make any money.
Right.
Because you can't put out one album every 3 years and make any money. You got to put out a single once a month and an album every 6 months. And you got to have 22-minute tracks on that album so that you can get a lot of spins, a lot of plays, you know, and even then you're not making that much money. So the industry's changing and you have to adapt with the industry. You know, songs were 3 minutes because of the radio. So it's, you kind of do adapt to it. But I am seeing that, you know, if you can work on something for an extended period of time, you can improve it if you're not twiddling your thumbs the whole time and making it worse sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I just did a song that I didn't work on at all.
Yeah.
And we did it in maybe,
This is
5.5 hours?
probably about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from, you you know.
I'm happy with it.
I am too.
Yeah.
I really am. I've never sounded so good at anything, at the guitar or at my voice.
Yeah, I love your Taylor. That's the first Taylor I've really played that I liked.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, it's not too shiny. Like shiny's the wrong word. High, like they're too crisp for me usually.
It's not too shimmery.
Yeah, and some people like that. Like Dave Matthews sounds like that, but I'm more of a, a little more mid-range, a little darker for acoustics, mainly because I like the way they record better.
I think you'd like my Ovation then.
Nice. I've played some Ovations.
I've got an old big body 1982. It's like
Oh, nice.
It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool.
And it's all mid-range.
Gotcha.
I'll
It's the
bring it in. I'll
Ovation
let
that
you
has
check
like
it
the
out.
interesting back, right? They all have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is the bigger body version of that. The new ones are, they have big ones too, but a lot of them are really skinny, and those skinny ones sound like crap to me.
Yeah.
But this one it's I love that guitar. It's just, it doesn't have that natural wood beauty like a dreadnought or an acoustic, a solid back guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a composite Martin that's super dark because it's not even real wood. And it sounds like shit if you put a mic in front of it, but you plug it in and it's like, it sounds way better than any other direct acoustic because it's not too crispy, it's not too shimmery, which sounds bad when it goes directly into any kind of signal. So I'll run that through amps and I'll kind of get it like a Willie Nelson sound out of it by just going through like some amp and some tremolo, and it sounds pretty cool. But it has a cutaway. I think I told you the other day.
Yeah, you don't like cutaways.
It's all aesthetic.
Dude, you got to check this one out. It's chocolate burst.
Nice.
And the cutaway doesn't change the cool factor. I think it's a really cool guitar. It's
sweet.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, bring it over.
Do you speaking of which, do you know a good guitar tech?
Not really. So I've not really found one since I've been in Austin. I've been here about 2 years, so or 2.5. So we should find one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had recommendations. I just haven't taken anything to them because I came here with everything set up, and I bought things that were set up, so I've been okay. But there's 2 or 3 recommendations. It's Austin. There's kick-ass people around here, and they're starving right now, so there should be some business.
Sure, that's true.
What do you need to work on?
That Ovation, the pickup doesn't work anymore. I have to do some kind of different system. My Taylor, it's called the Expression system, the pickup system. And it sounds okay. It sounds cool. But it's like when I plug in the jack and there's like this grounding issue or something.
Sounds like a hum.
It's like a hum, but when I touch the cable, it goes away.
Oh, it's a connection issue. That's like really easy to fix.
Is it?
Usually you just like have to screw it on tighter or something. I don't do that shit, but Lee, who I'm making that record for, he's an electrical engineer. And like I have a really cheap lap steel here that was cheap. So like every time you hit the connection, it would go out. And he was like, oh, give that to me. Got a screwdriver, 2 seconds, and it was fixed. So
oh, nice.
That shouldn't be that hard to do. Cool. Well, this has definitely been my longest podcast so far.
Oh, yeah?
But it was entertaining, so I kept
it
going.
was cool.
So thanks for joining me, and I'm sure that we'll do this again. And
I hope so.
You want to play a song?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
We want to eat first or what?
Nah, we'll eat first, yeah.
Fucking starving.
Let's do it.
Yeah, plus my ass hurts. And I've been thinking about the way we live, some reflection on the things we need to give. There's too many people caught up in the biz and the useless direction instilled in the kids. I've been tripping and I'm trying to crack a smile. So many people and they're living in denial. Places and timeless, only here for a while. Don't lose your focus, go out in style, and the wind will whisper, and the clouds will fall down, and the sound of echoes all come crashing to the ground. We stop to have a cigarette on our way out of town. This place is too crazy for me to wanna hang around. Get out of town. Go on, get out of town. Get out of town. That's what I'm